Welcome back. Thank you once again for hanging out with us. This is the one and only IT in the D show. I'm your host, Bob Walton-Spiel, always hanging out with the illustrious one, producer, co-host extraordinaire, Randy Walker. Guest this week, he's an old-time favorite. Andre Arbelaez is in the house. He is the CEO of HC3. We're going to be talking about the origin story of the Hispanic IT Council, as well as a very cool party that they are throwing. You can find us online, itinthed.com. Do us a favor, give us a like on the socials and subscribe to us everywhere. Fine podcasts are sold. Don't forget meetup.com/itinthed. If you're listening to us when we drop the show, we're going to be there tonight, which is the 18th. But if you can't make that one, just subscribe to future events. We're going to be at the Eastern Palace Club in Hazel Park, right off 75 and 9 Mile. No speakers, no cover charges, just a bunch of IT nerds talking shop. And it's always a good time there. Randy, how you doing?
Good. Yeah. Happy to see everybody at the networking event this week. So
Randy's been holding court lately. He's all he's been good lately. We like Randy. Andre, how they treating you, bud?
Doing well. Living here in the D, and it's time to get summer going, and with the draft coming, it's all very exciting.
Those honks you hear in the background, Andre lives on a lake, so those are geese. So those, it's not his doorbell. It's not his pets. It might be your pets. I don't know. Speaking of which, before we get into Andre, Randy, I got to talk about it. Fallout on Amazon Prime, the live action Fallout based on the video game is a 10 out of 10. I was
debating starting that because I've never played the game, so I don't know if I would enjoy it. Is it good without knowing the game, or
you're not going to? It's well written. It's very good. You're just not you're not going to get the geek.
Okay.
Like, ooh, like you're not going to, like, the things are going to happen and you're going to go, oh wow. Where I'm like, I know all the nuance in the characters and the factions and you know what I mean? It's really well, you can follow it though. It's really well done.
I'll check it out then.
I highly recommend it though. Now we're back to Andre. Sorry. I had to always, when there's a series like that hits, I played this game, Andre. I'm not even kidding. I played now the 4th version of it. I played the original, played New Vegas I played it like 6 times, beat it over because it changed. If you befriended this group, you went that way, so you could play the game. And then the new one, Fallout 4, I played for probably a solid year. So like I a lot of time investment in this game. So the fact that they came out with this live action series, I was completely nerding out. So what's new with you? What have you been up to?
So this is now my 3rd or 4th visit on IT in the D. So
I think so.
Yeah, a huge visit, and my first time doing it remotely. I love drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon Heaven licorice with you, Bob. So it's those are very fond memories. Lots of things have happened, particularly in the technology sector. I have been in some of the major companies here in the Detroit area in technology and automotive, even part of Amazon's Web Services automotive team. But I've also doing passion projects where for a while, about 8.5 years, I was president of the Hispanic IT Executive Council, which is why I came on IT and D at first. Incredible executives all around the country, and we talked about that. But since then, I moved down. I termed out of my position, and I didn't want to waste national relationships that I had, particularly in technology, especially in the leadership area. And then about 1.5 years ago, I kind of had an epiphany. I was watching HBO's Hard Knocks and watching the president of the Detroit Lions walk into Coach Dan Campbell's office. And he said on the show, one of those cameras over the desk saying, "You're not going to believe this, but our highest selling jersey for the Detroit Lions is Malcolm Rodriguez."
And I remember that vividly. Yeah.
And it was really an epiphany, like, hey. And then finding out the draft was coming to Detroit. And thanks to my network, having some high-level friends at the NFL, I said, we need to do something in front of the draft. And
let me ask you a question real quick. How does one get high level friends at the NFL? This seems something.
It's just one of my good friends. I lived in Dallas for a few years calling on Toyota for Amazon Web Services. So I got to meet certain people in that community, and one of them was one of the chief marketing officers for PepsiCo, who put on the halftime show with Shakira, J Lo, and she also did the hip hop one with Dr. Dre and Eminem,
Sure.
all this good stuff. And so, as I was having lunch with her one day, she told me that she had just accepted a role at the National Football League and was heavily pursued by the NFL and particularly Roger Goodell in that part, because as the NFL wants to do global expansion, they were looking for a global executive. And it just happened to be my friend. Her name is Marissa Solis, and really said, hey, there's a great opportunity here. And the draft was that opportunity. And along the way, she was kind enough to invite me to the Super Bowl in Los Angeles. And I went with my wife, and we did the, what do you call it, NFL Honors, where they do the red carpet, where they give away awards.
Yeah.
And it was mind-blowing in the aspect of I've never felt so dumb, because there were so many players there that I did not recognize. I was texting my son, taking pictures, going, who's this? Who's that? There's a lot of rookies I wasn't in tune with. And
Andre, I don't blame you. I was me and my wife went to New York, and we were seeing a Broadway play, and the guy next to me is fist bumping and taking pictures with everybody. And I finally leaned over and I'm like, who the hell are you? After we've been talking for 2 hours, he's like, oh, Dave Boss, New York Giants. And I'm like, you went to Michigan. But like when there's, they got the helmets on, and unless it's the quarterback or someone high profile, you don't know who they are.
And that was exactly my situation. I started talking to a guy that I thought was a former Detroit Lions wide receiver, Danny Amendola. I start talking to him in a lot of detail about Michigan, and he tells me he's from Michigan and he does a lot of things, and I live in White Lake, and he hangs out in White Lake with his wife, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I talked to him for about 10 minutes, and then later on in the show comes on Aaron Rodgers, who won the MVP that year, and he says, oh, I want to thank my head coach of the Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur. And that's who I was talking to the whole time. Did not know it was him. I've never felt so out of place. But with all that being said, we decided to do a big event, in which we're going to do here in Detroit, thanks to the support of the NFL and corporate sponsors like PepsiCo, Rocket Mortgage, Lowe's, Travel and Leisure, Sentinel One, the cybersecurity company, and some others, Ideal Shield, to really help put this event together, where we're bringing the best of the executives in sports. Now, we just had a funny, unique spin. We were going to have the only Hispanic CEO in Major League Sports, 153 sports teams, and it was a guy named Javier Gutierrez, CEO of the Arizona Coyotes. Now, if you've been watching sports lately, in the business of sports, they just announced on Friday that they're going to move the team and sell it to Salt Lake City. So
the hockey
team, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know.
So he's still going to participate by video, but we're bringing in executives from the NFL, from talent management to the marketing to even their chief information security officer. A guy named Thomas Maldonado will be coming and speaking at that. So we wanted to keep a little bit of an IT flair in there, as well as the rise of sports in the business of sports. As you know, the NFL contains 93 of the top 100 television shows every year. They dominate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and why there's
everybody but Randy watches. That's,
And so what they do is, as some of you may know, the first game of the NFL season this year is going to take place in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Okay.
With the Philadelphia Eagles against the Green Bay Packers. So that'll be the first game of the year in Brazil. First
That's
time.
That's a rough flight. I'm not gonna lie, that's a rough flight. I hope they give them some time before and after for that.
Yeah, it's 11 hours, and it's a Friday night game to kind of, I think, give them that extra time.
It's an hour ahead.
Yeah.
So it's like, so it's back. I was supposed to go for work for a month. That's why I know this. But like, flying to Tokyo, which was 13 hours, the 11-hour flight for a guy my size, they're not fun.
No, they're not. I've made that flight to both Tokyo and Sao Paulo, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And then next year, in 2025, they're going to play in Madrid, Spain. Will be another international game. So you're seeing the NFL expand as they've been playing a lot in London, England, also in Germany, and then they're going to expand in some Spanish-speaking countries as well. So
an interesting trend if you follow the betting lines. I'm not a bettor. If I throw $5 on a couple games a year, that's a lot. Every game's been the under. So if there's any of these international games, I'm not telling you bet the house, but I'd be wise to throw a hundy on the under. Literally every single one has hit.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So we are really helping them connect deeper into the Hispanic community. We're going to be doing some scholarships for kids attending the Detroit Cristo Race School in Southwest Detroit, right there along Verner Avenue. So we'll have executives from some of those major companies I mentioned, from PepsiCo and Rocket Mortgage and Lowe's and Sentinel One. We're going to have one of their field CISOs kind of on stage with the CISO of the NFL. So we really want to have fun with that and talk about the importance of cybersecurity in the major leagues, because that's an important issue, because they get hacked and attacked as much as any regular business.
So it's more educational, because I know the one I'm going to on Thursday, it's cans of beer and onion rings, and there's no one's going to learn anything then.
No, definitely. This will be much more on a leadership, education, feel good aspect with the scholarships, bringing great people together. So we're excited about that.
Nice. I know the last time we talked, you had mentioned like nothing surprises me anymore, but you were listing off the amount of CIOs of Hispanic heritage from Cisco to, you were 30, 40, 50, like crazy amount of of the Fortune 100s. How is the trend been going up, down, stayed the same? What have you been seeing?
I think at the top level, it's gone down just a little bit, but not because of background, just because of where they are in the life cycle. It ebbs and flows. Right now the CIO of Apple is Tim Campos, who's a fellow Latino Dominican Republican. He's, I should say, Dominican Republic native of background. Or the COO of Meta is a guy named Javier Olivan, who's from Spain, who I know well as well. So there's executives in all different places. Today I did a Zoom call with the former CIO of Goldman Sachs, a guy named Marty Chavez, and now he's the vice chairman of a private equity firm called Sixth Street, based in San Francisco. And they manage over about $75 billion in assets. So we're there as a community, but we're not there knocking on windows and really protesting. We're earning our place, and we have these executives in all different locations in corporate America. So IT is very strong. And they're in that organization. I mentioned High Tech's about to do a big event in Houston at one of Hewlett Packard's new headquarters. So still very engaged.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to work for them back in the day, and I went to the old headquarters and amongst in Roseville, California. My favorite room was I called it the Mike TV room. If you're an old Willy Wonka fan, it was where they tested. It was basically you couldn't sit in this room for more than like 90 seconds or you'd start to lose your mind. And it was where they would send I couldn't even remember what they did in there, just to test stuff in like these silent rooms and shoot lasers at them or whatever. Yeah, it's crazy stuff going on there.
Indeed. And we're going to be having at this event on Wednesday, April 24th, the former CIO of Cisco, Guillermo Diaz, who is since retired from Cisco and has done very well for himself. He's much earned it. He now sits on the board of directors of Blue Cross Blue Shield of California, as well as Jack in the Box. So, and you're thinking Jack in the Box, why would he do something like that? Well, when you find out the digitization that these retail restaurants are doing, and the fact that over 80% of the employee base is Hispanic, he felt very compelled to do that. And of course, they've just done spectacular. Jack in the Box is a franchise restaurant scenario there. So he's coming here because what he's done in his second life or third life, because he was in the Navy at first, is he's developed a company focused on helping students connect to universities and to corporations using the metaverse. So, and he's partnered with Stanford University to do that. So it's building 3D animated avatars and really engaging with corporate America and universities. And it's a fantastic thing. And he's going to do a live demo for us at the event.
So what's your take? Let's jump into that. What's your take on Meta? Because it like gangbusters in the beginning, and then it quieted down, and a lot of the use cases were kind of, I don't want to say they're debunked, but it didn't pan out. And I know they still have big plans for it, but what I'm kind of outside, I kind of wrote it off. What are you hearing, or what are you seeing with these days with the metaverse?
Well, I think the adaption has been tough because of the requirement of some type of headgear. Has been really a big challenge to get over that. Now, obviously, Oculus is out there. Apple just launched their headgear. But sometimes, to be very plainly said, it's too heavy, it's stubborn. People just get tired of wearing it. So, and the price point has made it very difficult for wide adoption. So I still think it's out there, and you can still use a PC to navigate without wearing, headgear. So adoption and design and, the developers really need to embrace it more, to get it going to the next level.
I've talked about it on the show before. I always thought the best use case would be sitting courtside at an NBA game, or front row at a Taylor Swift concert, or, pick your event and getting that immersive front row VIP feeling for, let's say it's $100 or whatever you want to charge, like a pay-per-view, $60. And it got quiet because, again, I thought this was going to be the next big thing. I wasn't about to jump in on it because, I'm old man. I want, I'm either going or watching on my TV, but I'm talking for the, sub 30-year-olds, but I haven't heard. Have you heard anything about that? Considering you're talking to NFL peeps, I would think they would try to have that.
I haven't. They're constantly leveraging new technologies in their distribution to different crowds. I don't know if you saw this past year, they kind of did some level of a virtual reality game partnering with Nickelodeon. So
I watched it with my daughter. It was fun.
So they are definitely not afraid to enter unique technology platforms like that. And it's very realistic to how they did it, to matching real life game scenarios on that Nickelodeon platform. So they're not afraid. I don't know all their technology directions, but they're trying to involve much more. As you've seen, they've partnered with a lot of the stats companies like analytics, like Amazon, AWS.
Yep.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a little bit too much. You just want to watch the game, But
no. I much rather would have SpongeBob and Squidward commentate the game than Buck and Aikman. So I mean, that was an easy channel flip. So how do we get to is the event open? Do you
yes.
Can a German go?
Yes.
How do I answer?
No,
how do I ask?
We welcome everybody to it because this is just it's a celebration, but it's also an involvement of everybody to the process. So we have a website where there's registration at www.hc3global.com. And once again, that's hc3global.com, where people can register, and there's a registration path there to buy your ticket from that perspective. So we do welcome it, and it's at the very famous location called Elevate at One Campus Martius, right at the top. When I used to work in that building, this place didn't even exist. Dan Gilbert and the incredible Bedrock team built up the backside of CompuWare and created a very unique banquet kind of a conference center where I was just there last week for what they call the Midwest Technology Leaders organization, Sim Detroit, that we were there in that very room.
I was supposed to be there. I would have seen you there, but we had mandatory meetings at our office. I work across the street, so we're at that building a lot because I work with Microsoft.
And 3 weeks ago, Slalom had a women's event there that I was at.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really great because the lines in the bathroom for the men were non-existent.
For once.
For once, yeah. But Slalom did a great job there. And you had a lot of the leadership there from that company there. But it was, it's a great event, and then highlights the beauty of Detroit, that it really has made a very big step forward. And there's going to be a lot of security around the NFL draft for all the good reasons, and hopefully avoids any negativity that what happened in Kansas City during the Super Bowl championship parade. And we do a really good job of making not only the NFL proud, but making our city proud of being a great location as they start looking at hosting the NCAA March Madness championships, I think in 2027. Yep. So we have a long way to, lots of long ways to go, but I think we're in the right direction for sure.
I just know you can't park in front of my building as of today, because I got a lot of phone calls this morning saying, don't come downtown. It's a madhouse. What's your take? I'm just curious. I have my own, but it doesn't mean anything. But what's your take on the Detroit IT scene these days? We've seen a lot of ebbs and flows. We've seen good things and bad things and everything in between. Where do you see it today, and where do you see it going?
It's amazing to me, as being a person that has traveled a lot of other cities and worked with IT communities, how we don't work well as a collective. We work well as individual companies, but we need to work better as a city of incredible executives on one of the leading edge technologies, from software defined vehicles, to LiDAR, to everything in, I grew up under the world of Peter Carmanos when I worked for CompuWare. Peter always used to talk about the vehicle is the second most complex thing in the world behind the computer itself. I think Elon Musk may have something to say about that now. But it is something that we should take great pride, because we have, as we raise our kids here in the Metro Detroit area, and let alone Michigan, I'm a witness of watching my two kids get the hell out of Michigan. And that is something we need to better do, is retain our talent here in Michigan. A lot of people go to U of M, and they're not often from here, and they leave here. And so
they've been screaming about that for 20 years,
yeah,
ever since I've been in. I remember the same argument. Now, here's the thing, and again, you can be polite and political, or you can pull the knife out. But what do you right now? What I'm seeing in the auto industry is they're bringing in the Apple people, and the Apple people are bringing in their people. So they're building up Austin, Texas. They're building up Silicon Valley for GM Cruise. Yeah, I think it impacts Detroit. Not to be selfish, but yeah, I'm selfish. I think it impacts our city greatly.
Well, the goal is always, by having more, there's more opportunity. We always like to say in the IT community, for every one coding job, there's 7 spin-off jobs, whether it's marketing,
sure,
sales, business development, finance, human resource, blah, 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 all that. There's a lot of spin-off jobs. So I look at it more that way, Bob, from that perspective, and helping advance us. But we need to train better. We have an organization that's going to be meeting, I think, in the next couple of weeks, called Digital Lakes. And I think that is part of where we start to collect these CIOs and technology executives to start discussing what we need to do better in Michigan as a whole versus individuals. And I see people in that room through Digital Lakes that come from different industry sectors. So they're not all automotive. Some may be healthcare. Some may be specialty work, cabinetry, but all have technology needs that we really need to be better at as a whole to keep people here in Michigan.
I think it's the same principles apply with fashion, music, all of that. Like we're last. LA and New York get it first. Chicago might get it in Dallas. And by the time it gets to good old Michigan and Iowa and Dakotas, it's already 3 years old. And in technology, you can't move that slow.
Agreed. I chair Oakland University's Computer Science Advisory Board, and I bring together a bunch of technology leaders from all the, from Del Ashanti, the CIO of Volkswagen globally, to Grace Hansen, one of the chief digital officers and transformation officers at Stellantis. Bring people from Aptiv, a lot of the tier one suppliers, and we talk about speed. And even our local universities move slow, even where AI is barely in their curriculum. And so that is something that we're constantly pushing to do. But having programs where high school kids go to Michigan schools and that those schools are funded, and that as long as they retain and go to work for a Michigan-based company, we need to get out of the box models like that, to keep kids here. Otherwise, they're just going to leave.
Yeah, but if you look at technology adoption, we had one of the pillars of the automotive community in Michigan have a no cloud strategy up until 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I mean, which is in my eyes, it's unacceptable. Like that that you're still building the data center in the basement, so you can see your green blinking lights. I mean, I thought we're past that at this point in technology. But a lot of nothing surprises me anymore. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's and now we're in that new step of AI. Where do companies fall in line with AI, and where's Detroit in AI? I still have my hesitations on it, but man, a lot of companies are putting big bets on them today.
Well, there's two big issues. Once you pull the proverbial covers back or peel the onion, however, whatever, not getting me into political trouble saying. With the Gen AI thing, everybody's finding out that data quality is poor and security is of grand concern because they do not want this data out public. So you're seeing a lot of, or at least we are, a lot of private Gen AI projects going on. Small, we're not seeing anything on a grand scale right now because of those two things.
I would agree, and particularly on the security side, employees are told very specifically not to leverage any open AI tools because once you put it in, it's out there in the sphere, and of course there's hallucinations, and it hits home when even at a personal level, I put my name in Chat GPT and then I put my name in Microsoft Copilot, and I get two different results. So it's a challenge.
Randy, me and Randy were messing around when it first came out, and what did it say about me? It was like the most ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
you would have thought
it made up a bunch of stuff.
Like, who is this? Like, something about respected and well known. I'm like, who the hell is this? Who the hell are they talking about? But I think it's I think it's an issue. We're also seeing AI companions in the dev world where instead of going offshore dev, we can do it responsibly and cost effectively here, which gets my ears up because that's where I want. I don't like anything going offshore, out of state. I want it here. So that's always good news. But again, this thing's flying. If we thought Shadow IT was a problem with guys buying AWS instances with their credit cards, the Chat GPT instances dwarf that, because it's 10 times easier, if not 1,000 times easier.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't stop. I'll give you another example. I was on a large conference call today, and I think with about 100 people, and about 30 of them, from what I could tell, were using AI solutions to participate on the call to take notes. And so it was very annoying following the chat because, like I mentioned, 30% of them were these AI tools. And even when I host internal host committee meetings for this NFL event here in Detroit, I see some of this, my host committee members use an AI tool like Otter.ai, I believe it is one of them. And the results I see after the meeting are completely off base, like not accurate to what we're discussing. I saw, there was use of drugs and, crime and all this kind of stuff. And we're like, that wasn't our call. What did this is where I true saw hallucinations.
Yeah, I don't. We use it's funny because since you can't get a professional version yet, everyone has their personal at live.com for their OneNote.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's fine. But here's the thing, you're always still going to need a human. It might be a companion, it might help, but it might be, I'm looking at that going, that's more work. I got 5 bullet points coming out of this meeting. Like, you got to sift through a book to I don't care about the Lions talk and the Tigers talk. Like, what did we, the middle 10 minutes, that's what that's the meat of this. So anyway, we're going to post you the event in our show notes. But what is the website again? Is H3C
HC3, which is
C3. Sorry.
Don't worry. HC3.
I'm staring right at it. Yeah.
HC3global.com. And there in there we have the latest agenda and registration information. Plus, as we grow our board, we're bringing a lot of incredible executives, and we're also going to be pairing up with some major universities to be part of executive education to HC3. So that's going to be very interesting. So the story is just beginning with HC3. And probably the most important thing, so far we've done such a good job in this inaugural event with the NFL. They've already told us that we're going to do it again next year in Green Bay. So that's exciting to hear, but also difficult to be in a colder city than Detroit.
Well, the worst part about that is you actually have to go to Green Bay. But other than that, everything's fantastic.
Yeah.
Andre, I can't thank you enough for the time spent. We are overdue to get together for a happy hour. So please, let's figure out our calendars when you're in town. We can get that on the books.
Absolutely.
And sincerely appreciate your insight and your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey, we're going to wrap things up for this episode of the IT and the D Show. On behalf of Bob and Randy, do us all a favor. Drink up your drinks. Get your phone numbers. You don't got to go home. You just got to get the hell out of here. See you next week. Drive careful. Beat it.